Are you hard stuck? Can you just not get that promo match? Do you keep losing to mashers and all this different cheese? Well, look no further, because Tekken Tech Tips is here to help you. I'm Cat of Perfection, and today we're going to be looking at how to lab, and how to not be hard stuck, and how to blame yourself and not your enemy. Now, for real though, if you're here, chances are you are about to level up in the game. You're about to go to a new level. If you take everything that you learn in this video, hopefully, I'm gonna give y'all some information, what I do, how I became not hard stuck during the Tekken 7 grind, and I'm gonna apply that to Tekken 8, and hopefully that will help all of us out. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this video up into kind of like 3 different sections, I would say, is the way that I do it. So we have offense, we have defense, and then we have practice drills and throw breaks. Alright, so if we go to our pause menu, the first thing that we're going to see, training mode, offense, right, defense, CPU. You're never really going to need the CPU one. It's mainly just going to be offense and defense. So offense we're going to look at first, and then we're going to go right over here to opponent actions. And you're going to see all these different things. I'm kind of just going to go through them real quick. We're not going to worry about these last 3 because you're almost never going to need these last 3. Jump, mimic, and controller. You will almost never need them. So first, we'll just go through them one by one. Kind of quick rundown. Standing, pretty obvious. They're just there. They're not going to do anything. If you typically just like, you know, if you want to practice combos, whatever. Right. Standing block, self-explanatory. They're just going to be blocking, standing. Right. That's all that is. Standing approach. Let's say, you know, you want to like get to a certain place and you want to get to a certain place on the stage, and you know, to move there, and you want to get your bot to move there. You just, you know, get them to follow you to wherever you're going. Crouching, obvious, right? They're just going to be crouching. Crouching block, they're going to be crouching, but they're blocking. Crouch and follow. Same things as stand and follow, but instead of, you know, standing, they're going to be crouching, right? Block all. If you want to check your frames and whatnot, this is typically what I use to check my frames on moves, right? -15. Look at that, down forward, -15. Down forward 1, 2, -14, right? Random block. Random block I use if you have moves that are hit confirmable or counter hit confirmable, then random block is what I use. Or I guess random block is what I use for hit confirmable, rather, right? So for instance, Reina, her forward 2-3 is hit confirmable, right? So this move is hit confirmable. So I would just, if I wanted to practice it, I would just go over here, put on random block, right? And whenever she gets hit, if she doesn't, if she blocks it, then I won't do the follow-up. That's how I practice hit confirming. And then, like we said, we're not going to go through the last 3. All right, and then after opponent actions, you see right under here, you have action after a hit or block. So, for instance, if we put opponent actions to standing, and we put standing block, right? Actually, here's what we'll do. We'll put block all. That's what we'll do. We'll put block all, right? We kind of know what standing block is, but let's put block all for now, since we went through that, and we know that it's going to block everything. So since the first opponent action, whatever is opponent actions, is what the CPU is going to register first. So since standing is there, it's just going to be standing, right? And then after the first hit registers, then whatever is next, it's going to do the action after a hit or block, right? So let's say I do this, right? So what does this tell me, right? These first two hits hit, this third hit does not hit. This tells me that on this string, if the first hit hits, then the second hit is guaranteed, but the third hit is not guaranteed. And that's what I use this option for, is to see which hits are guaranteed and which hits are not guaranteed. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a -8, right? It's not guaranteed. So that's what I do most of the time for that. And then moving on to that, still after action, after a hit or block for our second action, right? Like we said, we can just kind of skip these, jump, mimic, all that. But in Tekken 8, we have something else. We have side steps, and we have sidewalks, we have backdash, and we have punish. These are new options that we did not have in the previous game, right? So if I put sidestep left, like we said, first hit, standing, so whatever we do is going to be guaranteed. And then after, right, let's say we put sidestep left, after the first hit registers, the CPU is going to sidestep left. So if I did a string that I wanted to see if you could step, I could just use these settings, and I could be, let's see, let's do down forward 1, sentai 4. So you can step it to the left, right? Now you have your answer to that. Can you step it to the right? You just go 1 down, sidestep right. You can step it to the right. And then you have sidewalk, which is basically the sidestep, but like even more sidestep. So yes, you can sidewalk left, and I imagine you could probably sidewalk right, and you can sidewalk right. And the last two, you also have backdash and you have punish, right? So you have backdash, nothing really happens there, just a backdash, nothing crazy. So you have that. Let's say, for instance, I don't know, you have like a short range move or something, and you want to check if it reaches at certain distances. And then after backdash, we have punish, right? So for this one, right under this one, you're going to go to punishment settings, right? And then you're going to see standing punishment 1 through 8, and then you're going to see crouching punishment 1 through 8. And what this does is it's basically the same thing. It's basically your action after a hit or block, but this time you're telling the CPU after whatever happens, right, to do this punished, right? So let's say, I don't know, let's just do so it says after blocking, control your opponent and record the punishment technique, right? So it's gonna hit us, and then we do something, we just do 1 1 2, right? And then the timer will run up, we record this movement. If we didn't like do the move we wanted or something, we could hit record again, right? Hit OK, we get hit again, 1 1 2, okay, timer's gonna run up, timer is ran through, okay, record this movement, yes. All right, so now you see right here, we have standing punishment 1, and that it's going to be our 1 1 2. So we're going to go back, and you're going to notice that's going to be our action after hit or block now, is 1 1 2. So if you wanted to see if something was going to trade or anything like that, you could use this option. Right, so if you wanted to check situations or anything like that, you can kind of just test, you know, what'll work and what won't work in certain situations, and kind of predict what test situations that, you know, you think your opponent might do, ways to, you know, maybe frame traps or anything like that. Kind of a cool way to find some setups. And then of course, those are your standing punishments that you can do, right? You have all those slots, but you also have crouching punishment. So if you go to crouching punishment, hit record on that one, what it'll do is it'll attack you with a low, and then it'll put you into crouching, and then you can just do a move from crouching, and pretty much the same thing will apply, right? If you, obviously nothing will happen if you like do just regular like that, but if you do a move that puts her in crouching, we have to change our opponent actions to block the first one. So you could do crouching block, or you could do block all. But now if you put if you do a move that forces her to crouching, then she'll block it and she'll do whatever you set for the bot to do. So we have 8 slots for each standing and crouching, right? So if we wanted to record a couple of different things, let's say we did boom, right? Block, down forward 1, 2. Yes, record this movement. Right, so this gives us down forward 1, 2 after something happens. And then let's say we record another movement. Let's do down forward 1, 1. Alright. I always hold back just to know, that it's like doing my, like kind of when the recording's finished for the CPU. So now you see these numbers in the middle, in between L1 and R1. As you see, it says actual frequency. So this is telling you if you put this number up, then this move, whatever you recorded on this slot, is going to happen more since the number is higher, as opposed to this move, whatever you recorded on this slot, since the number is lower, right? So this is 1, this is 10. Obviously 10 is a lot higher than 1, so you're going to be seeing this a lot more, right? So we do 1, 1, and we see down forward 1, 2. Down forward 1, 2 again. Down forward 1, 2 again, right? Obviously, we're seeing that because the number is so high. I always put them the number to 1 usually most of the time, just because let's say if I have a bunch of other punishes on these other slots, and I want to kind of like go and switch in between them, I could just turn them off by going to 0. Instead of having them all the way at 10, I could just go to 0 from 1, right? And then of course we also have our crouching punishments, right? So that's pretty much the same as the standing punishments. Everything works the same. The only difference is this move right here, when you record it, it's going to block a low, and you're going to do whatever crouching punish from there. So record this movement, yes. And then we put that to 1 to record another movement. Okay, block a low. Alright, so we recorded 2 different things. We did a while standing 4-4 that goes into stance, and a while standing 4-4 that does not go into stance. So now we have all of these different punishes that the bot is set to do after they get hit by something. So whether it be standing, if you do a move that causes them to be standing, it'll do a standing punish. If you do a move that causes them to block something low, then it'll do the crouching punish. And that's with opponent action set to block all. If you do moves that, let's say you put opponent actions to standing, right? You hit them with a low, they'll hit you with the standing punish, because obviously they're still standing. Now most of the time I will say, I kind of just took everything off right now. Most of the time I will say that is typically not what I do when I'm labbing. There isn't too many times where I need to have, all these different slots filled up with different moves. Most of the time I really only need 1 or 2. For instance, let's say a standing punishment, right? Let's say I hit record, let's say boom, record this movement. It's just me spamming jab. But what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at, do I have enough frames to press? What will happen if they do this move and I do this move after I do this first move, right? So if I do jab, jab, if they do a jab after I do jab, jab, will their jab beat out my jab? I hope that didn't sound too I hope that didn't sound too confusing, right? But if I do 1-1, they're gonna do 1-1, right? Whose 1-1 wins after I do 1-1? Their 1-1 wins. So it's just a small example, but that's the way I would use it for, you know, other situations, other moves, right? Now, another thing that I actually didn't even know was here before I looked at this, because I would always just hit record, but you can hit this right here, and it says select from punishment list, and it'll give you a list of moves, and it'll tell you what kind of moves they are, right? So you have the jab, right? The one which is and it says fast high attack. You have a down forward 1, fast mid attack, and you have down 4, fast low attack, back 2, homing attack, power crush, jump status moves, crouching status moves, throws, rage arts, heat smash, her electric, right? All these different things here. So even if you like didn't really know like what you wanted to test, you could just go to this list and you can test the moves that are here, right? So I don't know, let's do her her electric, right? Let's say I wanted to work on the speed of my electric. So punishment settings, select from punishment list, and we would hit this input right here. It's her electric, right? So I think I have it set to block all. So it'll block this, and then it'll do an electric after. So if my execution is good enough, it'll tell me whether or not, depending on whose electric hits. Because if I hit the electric first, I'm going to be +5. So my electric should hit, but if my execution is too slow, then the other electric, the CPU electric will hit, right? Right there, I didn't even get the electric. And right there, my electric was too slow. So now I know my electric's too slow. Right there, where my electric was, you know, good speed, so I beat it out. But that's just that's an example of a way to use that also. And then, of course, like we were saying before, you could see which moves, you know, a jab will just beat that out. Like, oh, I'm -3, but a jab will beat an electric out still, you know? Or it won't be out on electric, my bad. It will be out on electric. See, I don't know what I'm talking about. Why are y'all here? No, look at that. I was just slow. If I go immediate jab, then it'll beat it out. It'll beat it out every time, as long as it's not slow. So I kind of covered everything on punishment stuff, I believe, and everything for up here, these slots right here. Hopefully that didn't take too long. But next, we have all this other stuff down here, right? Maybe I should have went over this first, but I mean, I ain't about to go back and record all that. So you see, we have ground technique after punishment settings. Ground technique is exactly what it sounds like. Saidikemi, which is basically just a side roll. Quick recovery, you have back quick roll, and shuffle, right? So this stuff, let's say I didn't know if something was guaranteed or not. Like I wanted to see if the CPU could get out of it, right? Oh, I still have my punishment setting on. So we had to turn that off to put it to not set, right? And action after a hit or block. We could just leave it to standing. Leave this to standing. Alright, now ground technique. This is just side roll left. Right? So, grounded, the CPU will side roll left. So if I'm like, oh, I wonder if my down 4 will hit here. My down 4 will not. If I'm late, you could side roll out of it, right? So side roll beats, you know, you can figure out which, in your combos, you can figure out like setups, which ones work and whatnot, how to get out of them, if you need to side roll left, if you need to side roll right. And then you have quick recovery, which is basically just your kip up, right? So you're like, how do I, which of my moves can like deal with kip up, right? I'm like, oh, I can power crush through their kip up. I can float their kip up with my down forward 1. Alright, so that's quick recovery. And then you have back roll, which is exactly what it sounds like. They just hold back getting up. Nothing too crazy there. And then you have shuffle, which is also exactly what it sounds like. It'll just kind of mix between them. They do back roll, kip up, right? And then you have not set. For the wake up, this is kind of a lot more, but it's kind of hand in hand with their ground technique. So wake up backwards, right? They're just holding back to get up. Front roll, they front roll. Side roll left. Side roll left. I guess that would be the proper term. Is side roll left is when they do the tech roll, right? And then tech roll right. So I'm like, oh, okay. Does my thing catch them? My down forward catch them if they side roll certain ways? It does. Okay, cool. Right. And then you, this is a cool one also. This is pretty useful. A lot of people like to get up kick still, especially now that they're safe. You can kind of figure out like what your options are for get up kicks. Right here, right? I'm trying to sidestep the get up kick. Can't really sidestep it. Maybe I'm not timing it. Okay, I can sidestep the mid get up kick to the right. It's a little bit harder to the left. You can look at the low kick, -9. +7 on hit. And obviously you can low parry it. Then you have your recovery kick, which is this little toe kick, back roll. And then of course your spring kick. So you can kind of figure out how minus this is, right? So right there it's launch. Right there it's -13. So you could test the ranges on that, your punishes for that, and then of course shuffle, the same thing. That's ground technique and that's wake up. And then you have player counter, which is exactly what it sounds like. Your counter hits, this will automatically give you counter hits on your whatever move you do, right? I need her to actually like wake up when she hits the ground now, so I put stand up. But this will give you counter hits whenever you do a move. You see in the bottom left where it says counter. So you can test your counter hit properties and whatnot. For instance, this move. That way I don't have to like key charge every time to give myself the counter hit property. I could just turn that on. Practice my counter hit combos. Right. And then you have multiple counter hits, which this is something that I don't really use too often because I never really need it. But if for some reason you wanted to have every single hit that you land be a counter hit, then you could turn this on. And then shuffle. And then if you wanted to record your opponent's moves, you know, when you record your opponent, which we'll get into in a little bit once we're finished with the rest of these, then you can turn on your opponent counter hit stuff. But for now, we're going to move on from that. That's going to be in the defense section. Player rage, this will just give us rage so we can have access to rage damage and our rage arts, and then opponent rage also you can set. Player's heat, this will give us, you can activate heat from here, right? So if I use this, if I use all my heat, it'll just automatically activate by itself again, right? And if I do no heat, which is what we just won't have heat at all. And then there's no heat limit, right? Which is basically we just get our heat back once we use it, but we have to manually activate it again. And if we do not set, use our heat, activate our heat, use our heat, all of our heat, then it's just like a regular game and we just don't get it back. So most of the time you're going to be using no heat limit, unless you're using something that involves heats and you're lobbing something with heat, then activate heat. This is what you're going to be looking at. But most of the time it's just going to be on no heat limit. And then of course you could do the same for your opponent. And now you can do, this is also new, but player throw escapes and opponent throw escapes, right? You can set opponent throw escapes. So you can set the CPU to break your throws now, which is pretty cool. So if you wanted to see the properties of your throw when it's broken, they made it a lot easier to see now. So here I'm like, oh, okay, my 1+ throw when it gets broken, it switches sides. And then you have neutral block also, which is, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. They're just blocking, but in neutral. I never even paid attention to that, or input delay frames. I guess if you want to practice having a really laggy connection, if you partake in a lot of bad connection matches, and you want to just practice that, then you could turn the frames up. Turn the input delay frames up. I do not like bad connections, and I do not like to play in bad connections, so I'm going to leave this on that set. But that's going to be it for the offense section. Now, what we're going to look at is the defense section, which I'm sure a lot of people do not like. They don't like to block. We like to press buttons, but we got to learn how to block so we can press more buttons. So you remember how we had all the action slots before with the crouching punishes and the standing punishments? We have CPU opponent action slots now. We have 8 of them. In Tekken 7, we only had 5 of them. So it's pretty much the same thing. You know, you would see something in the move list, right? If you knew the input. I always like doing the input manually, just so I know that I'm doing it as fast as possible and I'm holding the block after. Because I've kind of baited myself into believing the properties of a certain move or a certain string worked a certain way, when in reality it did not work that way. It's just the way the CPU did it. So I always record the move that I would do, right? I would hit record, we would hit our touchpad and circle to start the recording, and then we would do whatever move, and then right here I'm holding back. That way I block after I do the move. That way I know I'm blocking. We see the frames, -14, right? And so the same thing would apply with the different action slots. So let's say we had down forward 2. Let's say we had down forward 1, 1. What I like to do, I can't think of any strings off the top of my head or any like drills off the top of my head, but usually I'll find an option select to a certain strings, and I'll use these slots to put the different moves on there, and then I'll just practice my option select for it. But let's say we just do these two, right? Down forward 1-1 and down forward 1-2. This is actually me labbing right now, because I'm pretty sure I don't think I can fuzzy duck the down forward 1-1 and the down forward 1-2, but if I could, it would be a really nice option select to have. She does have the sentai after down forward 1 that she can go into, but it does take a little bit. It is a stance transition, so I might be able to get away with this if I can fuzzy duck it. So we'll hit play. Okay, we can... I haven't gotten a hit yet, so... Okay, you can kind of fuzzy duck it. Look at that. Got a while standing punish. Got a standing punish. Standing punish. Yeah, so you can fuzzy duck down forward 1-1 and down forward 1-2. Did not know that. I just learned. We just learned that together. Look at that. We're learning. That's why we lab. That's exactly why we lab. So now we have another option. If we see a Reina that's spamming just down forward 1-1 and down forward 1-2, then we can fuzzy duck it. It's somewhat of an option select for us. And then see if I wanted to get more complicated, and if I wanted to really check, then I would go here. I would go record. I would do down forward 1, sentai 2, right? Because that's the option. I play Reina, so I know that that will be another option that I could try. Of course, this is all set to 1, so the frequency is all the same. But we hit play. See, yeah, now it gets a lot more complicated. It might be possible still, though. We are blocking the... Okay, so a little harder, but you get the point of the whole thing. The whole point of labbing is to try to find answers, the easiest answers in one answer to a whole bunch of different strings, right? So for instance, fuzzy ducking these 3 different moves right here that we're doing. But besides that, moving on to the next thing, I'm going to unset all of these, except for this one. Moving on to the next thing, so those are the opponent action slots. You have action intervals, right? So this basically says within how long does it wait until it does the next thing again, right? So you have action frequency, which is how often is it going to happen. And then action intervals is basically how quickly is it going to happen, right? So normal is what we've been on. If we put it to short, then it's going to happen very quickly, right? So it'll do down forward 1-2, and then it'll immediately go back and start again, down forward 1-2 again. And then if we wanted to put it longer, we would put it to slow, down forward 1-2. It'd give us some time to regroup, and then it'll do down forward 1-2 again. And then of course you have the heat, the rage, and the counter stuff all down here again. But one of the main times that I like changing this to short is when I'm practicing throw breaking, right? So let's say I wanted to practice throw breaking. Reina has a command throw. She has a 2 break. Let's say I don't know the input. I would simply go to select from Movelist. I would hit right, hold right on my D-pad. You see all these different moves, right? Heaven's Wrath moves, and then I see throws, and I see the breaks. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is her 2 break throw, right? And then I go do. I see other throws. I see a 1+2 throw. Okay, let's say I just wanted to practice the throw breaking between these two throws, right? So I would put both of these on one. Actually, what I would do first is I would check just to double check, you know. Look at it. Oh, let me change the. Oh, it is on short. Okay, so that's a 2 break. So I have the 2 break set. Now I know that. So I'll put that on 0 now. Put the second one on 1. Check what this other throw is. Okay, that's a 1+2 break. Okay, so we're good to go. We can set both of these on 1 now. And now we can press our throw breaking. Make sure that this is set on short. I put it on short because I'm used to practicing breaking throws. But if you needed some time to regroup, you can put it on normal. Or you could put it on slow. But I always put it to short just because that's the level that I like to practice throws at. But I would just let this play out. And the way I usually do it is I try to get a certain amount of throws broken in a row before I move on to the next thing. So those are the basics of defense, offense, and throw breaking. But there was a couple things I kind of skipped over, which I'm going to go over right now. So for instance, you remember when we were in offense and we did stand and approach, right? New setting. If you hit in the bottom left where it says touchpad plus R2 remember, this will come up and it'll say record the status ? And we will say yes. So wherever we're at in the map, it'll mark, it'll be like a little, you know, tactical insertion, right? So for instance, let's say I do a combo, I get all the way over here, but I don't want to be all the way over here anymore. I want to be where we started. So I hit touchpad, L2, reproduce, and we're back where we started. It's kind of useful for like, let's say you're on a different stage. You know, we're not on this big stage. We're on like this. We want to practice a wall-to-wall combo. Then you can hit the remember and reproduce. Or maybe if you go over here to restart settings, something else that we did not talk about, we could go to restart position. Let's say we want to go to the wall, we could go to the wall, and if we hit restart now we're at the wall, but maybe we're on like a weird angle for some reason, then I want to be right here, and I would hit remember. I would do this. I'm like, okay, what do I have for a combo here? Do I have anything? I don't know. Oh, I have a realign there. Cool. Let me see if I can find anything else, right? Another thing for restart settings, since we're here now, player direction, right? Left is what it sounds like. It'll put you in these really weird spots that are hard to get into. So it'll change your direction, your player direction, right? If you want your back-facing opponent, you want to try out some back turn moves. Maybe it's hard for you to get a back turn because you don't have, for instance, I don't have anything to get a back turn, right? So I could just go here and I could just go in back turn from the restart settings. And then of course you could do the same for your opponents. Maybe you wanted to see if you could do anything right here. So there's back turn stuff, and then there's also player status, which will tell you whether you want to be, whether you or your opponent want to be standing up or laying down. And for laying down, you can have your, I guess it would be better if we do our opponent. For laying down, you could have your face up, or you could have your face down. So just another way to test, if you wanted to test some of your ground moves, right? You figure out maybe, I don't know, let's say you wanted to see which moves flip you over. So for this, she ends up in the same spot. Okay, so that, now we know her electric kick always ends up with her facing down. Or, no, not facing down. Hold up. She's face up. She's face down. She's face down. She's face down. Yeah, so always face down. So that's a way of what I would use that for, just to see what kind of properties that has. And then you also have switch position, so if you wanted to be on the other side, it pretty much just, it's exactly what it says, it's just switch position. So now we're on the right side where she was. And status record, that's just what we did earlier with the remember reproduce. And if you got confused by all that and you messed up all your settings and you wanted to just go back to normal, you could just hit reset, restart settings to defaults, and all of this will just go back to normal. So now we're at, where we started. So now it's just normal. Right here, these are my display settings. I always like to have all of this on my screen. I would like to see everything. I would like to see which moves are mid, high, low, command history. You see it. It's kind of, they changed it to a vertical line command history, but it's there on the left now. That's what that is. HUD, that's just the health bar stuff. Shows all that good stuff. Player attack info, it just shows, you see the box that went away. So it shows the damage, total damage, max combo damage, clean hit, counter hit, punish, and wall. So you see whenever let's say I get a counter hit, you see in my box that counter lights up, turns yellow. It means something is a counter hit. So the way the other things would work too, they would light up whenever they happen, clean hit, punish, or wall. And then same thing for opponent, attack info, player frame info, a couple different things here. Right now I have it on show details. So you see where it says attack startup frames and the box at the bottom right there. Tells me status, tells me distance from opponents. So that's going to tell me all my plus frames, minus frames, startup frames. I always have that on. You could use simple display. This is a little more complicated. The only time I ever use this is when I want to practice. Whenever I want to practice and see when my animation for something is over and I'm like in actual control. So you see the way I light up. So when that light up is over, I have control, right? So I have control. I think it's when that blue thing is over. I'm pretty sure it's when that blue thing is over that that's when I have control of my character, but that's a little more advanced. It's kind of a thing I use for timing a lot on different moves, like for instance her counter hit down 2, right? What you're supposed to do here is you're supposed to get a follow-up kick, but the timing is kind of weird, so I use this to practice. So I see when I stop glowing and when I can take control of my character. But that's simple display. That's what I use that for. Most of the time, you probably won't be using that. There's also, this is new, show frame advantage. So it makes it very small, and all it does is just show you the frame advantage. So at 1, I do 1-1. Oh, I'm +6. It's right there above my head. Can't miss it. But, and you can also hide, which doesn't show you anything. But I like using show details because it shows you my startup frames and my status. So if I'm standing or crouching. And then of course, all the same for your opponents. Hit properties. Your hit properties just show you whether something is a high, mid, a low, or an unblockable. That's usually what that exclamation point means, is that it's an unblockable. See, I didn't even know this wall spot. But I believe that covers everything. So now, for the actual meat of the lab, what is actually going to make you, now that you understand how the lab works, we can actually start putting things into practice, right? So let's say you didn't know the Reina matchup, for instance, right? And let's say you didn't know where to start. You wanted to learn the matchup, you didn't really know where to start. You could just go to punishment training. That's it. It's a preset of moves, a preset list of moves that you can go through. You can go to normal. I always go to normal the first time just to learn the frames of each move, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, this is launch. This is minus 17. We can turn our frames back on. So we go back to display settings. We go to prior frame info, show details, and then punishment training. We go to normal. Okay, minus 17. That's how I punish it. It gives you the recommended punish. It goes through each move with each recommended punish. And then once you go through all this and you start really like familiarizing yourself with the frames of each move, you feel a little bit comfortable, then you can turn up the difficulty to hard. And this this just puts it on shuffle, so you can actually like practice your punishes and react to them, right? That's what this does. So if you didn't want to do that and you want to actually go through just, you know, kind of her whole move list, you could just let's say you didn't know the moves, whatever. You can just go to the moves from here, and you can figure out, you know, go through each one, figure out what each one is about. Always minus 14, and then you kind of just go down the list. Minus 3, cool. How do I deal with it? I could sidestep it. Okay, cool. Very linear. Sidewalk it. Duck it, sidewalk it, interrupt it. Figure out your option, how to beat each one. So I think I'm gonna say that covers it for the lab, for this lab. But for us, right, something amazing that we have now, if we go back to the main menu, probably my favorite feature of this new game, replays. My replays and tips. Let's say you got absolutely dog walked on in a match. If you have the replay saved, right, you can go to the replay depending on however long ago it was, right? Like this Ling, pretty sure this Ling beat me up, right? So I could just go to our replay, play replay. We were on the left side, so we're gonna pick left side.
Get ready for the next battle.
And this is just gonna take us back, and this is like probably, I think, the best way to learn is analyzing your matches through the replay system. I genuinely think that this is your number one way that you are most likely going to get better. That's what I think. So we could just go and take a look, right? So look at that. Immediately, this is from the punishment training. it tells us we could have done 2 slide 1. We did a 12 frame punish, but now we know that this is minus 14. And to practice, if we hit our left analog stick, we can control the left side character. And if we hit our right analog stick, we can control the right side character. We can take control of the characters that were in the replay. So we see enable controls for the left side character. Yes. I'm trying to do the 14 frame punish. I'm kind of late, but I can hit it. So hitting this 14 frame punish will be something that I would have to practice now. But I know that this is something that I can do now. I can see how much damage it would have done. I can test out different punishes. See, I could have done down forward 1-2 here, got a heat engager. Since down forward 1-2 is I-13. And that move is minus 14. But we can do this throughout the entire match. We can kind of see where we could have done better. See right there, we dropped the combo. Right here. We can figure out, oh, what was I supposed to use to pick up there? It looks like I get a combo. Oh, I used down forward 2. And I could see what should have happened there had I actually hit it right. So I can practice, boom, boom, take control of the moment. And you could do this throughout the entire replay. You just see all the things that you did wrong and all the opportunities that you missed. See all the frames, see all the moves that they used. See how you got robbed. But what I would do is go through those matches that I got really beat up in, or see, you know, if I didn't know how to deal with certain things. That's the first place I would go to, is to the replay. But with that being said, I think this video might have ended up kind of long. I'm not too sure. I kind of did a lot of cuts, so the timer kind of restarted. But hopefully, with all of that we covered, hopefully the video doesn't end up too long. But hopefully at the same time, it was very informative and y'all learned something from it. I know I learned a couple of things just recording it and labbing during the session. So with all that being said, much love, God bless, appreciate y'all for stopping by. See you next time. Bye.